As Craig says, obviously this was a big statement from a side who've looked a little weak in Europe over past seasons. What's changed?
I think they've entered these final stages of the Champions League play in the last months, and they've played some of the best football that they've maybe played under Pep Guardiola. And the fact that they've won 90 to 95% of their matches leading up into these final stages, I think it gives you that sense of confidence. You know, there's no doubt in terms of a formation. There's no doubt in terms of what people's roles are. They're playing seeing them not have a 9 on the field is as regular as it comes now. So even though, as I say, it's something which isn't normal in terms of just general football, it's something which they're all very used to and they're very, very productive with. On the weekend, we just watched them win the League Cup final without a striker on the field, and they controlled games and stuff like that. So going into these matches, I feel like their game plan is more set. And whoever they come up against, you know, you're going to come up against really good sides at this point. But ultimately, I think City, they have confidence that they can beat absolutely anybody because they've spent most of the last 2-3 months beating everybody. But to talk about, to ask Craig a question in particular about the PSG second half, I wonder how much of their performance was to do with the fact that they had a 1-0 lead. So as a consequence, if you start to feel a bit of pressure, I feel like it's almost your natural tendency to take a step back. But against the City team, you talk about the flip side of that, being 1-0 down, the pressure was probably off for them, and they knew that they can do better. So before you know it, there's a whole cycle. It feels like there's a whole psychological shift in the game itself. Because as I say, for PSG, they're winning. They were doing everything fine. Everything was great first half. But then a raise in performance and a slight more of an aggressive press from City, you know, all of a sudden it becomes easy to drop back. And looking at the players in PSG's side, you've got some exceptional attacking talent, some of the best in the world, but they're not necessarily the best players when a team's back's against the wall. So then you start to see a team kind of crumble because that backward step has happened. Like, do you think that's the thing, or am I just making that up?
No, I think a bit of both. I think a bit of sitting back in and a bit of pressure from Man City. But the one thing I would say is that they did okay with their backs against the wall against Bayern Munich. Well, I mean, they did and they didn't. I'm kind of contradicting myself here. Bayern had so many chances in Munich. Maybe it was a little bit of luck as well and some poor finishing. But you're right. I mean, these players want to play on the front foot, and you know you're not going to get the best out of Di Maria, Mbappe, and Neymar when your back's against the wall. Now, in all fairness, Mbappe did track back, and Neymar did they tracked back as well as they could. But City just had the upper hand on them. Listen, I'm going to throw a little curveball in here. Because I think, you know, in the context of potentially getting to a Champions League final, Roy Keane in 1999, captain of Man United, in Turin, historic performance against Juventus, an amazing win, booked, missed the final. One of the biggest games of his career. One of the best players out there, Kevin De Bruyne, captain of Man City, the talisman, really came to the fore in the second half, got a booking. We'll play in the second leg, no doubt about it, we'll play. That's a difficult call for him to go out in that field. As professional footballers, we know you can't go out there half-hearted, 80%. But if you make the one wrong decision or you don't make that challenge that's potentially going to stop an attack, you're on a yellow card, he misses the final. How difficult is that going to be for him to process that and still play at the level we know he can? Because I'm telling you, I'm telling you now, it's going to be in his mind, big time.
We'll talk about a lot more, I'm sure, looking ahead to the second leg. Jurgen, just going back to what we saw take place today, obviously a lot of talk around Manchester City, as I mentioned, over the last few seasons, was that psychological barrier that they maybe had. They lacked that experience in the big European games. How much does that performance today in Paris change things?
Well, I think it will give them a huge boost of confidence. I mean, turning it around in the second half, the way they did it was impressive. And I can only imagine a little bit the halftime talk of Pep Guardiola telling them basically to step it up physically, to get in their faces, to not giving them any more time, and to kind of also to face those physical battles, these one-against-one battles. And so they came out and they right away were physical. They kind of interrupted Paris. They showed them, okay, we are awake now, we are alert, we are here, we're in the game. And that kind of gained them the momentum. and the whole game went the other direction. And I think Paris Saint-Germain, in a certain way, they just thought about coming out of the locker room and saying, okay, you know, if we finish this thing 1-0, that would be amazing, going to Manchester with a win. This is how mental it is. It's all down to these little mental battles on the field. Certain fouls happen, certain moments. Obviously, as Craig said, rightfully so, you got to be very aware of how bad a physical challenge is. You know, you cannot do it like Gay did it with a straight red card, but here and there, you might be okay with picking up a straight yellow card for a physical challenge that kind of signals to your teammates that we're in the game and that we are now changing the rhythm and we get control. And Man City took control again in the second half, and Paris then started only to react to what Man City was doing. And those are all these little pieces that are so crucial in these type of huge battles, and they go all the way then into the final. And that's the kind of a process that a team goes through over a couple of years. And obviously Man City is growing under Guardiola so much over the last few years that maybe it culminates now in the final and with a possible Champions League win this year.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.